back to the program and now to some of our stories in brief. We begin with the Benue State government advocating support for the military from Nigerians and leaders at all levels to enable the joint services defeat ongoing insurgency. This is which poses serious threats to Nigerians across the country. The state's deputy governor, while representing the governor at the 2019 Chief of Air Staff dinner, indeed noted that for the precision of the Nigerian Air Force in the ongoing counterinsurgency operations, many more land troops would have fallen on account of ambushes. He's calling on Nigerians to show solidarity and volunteer information to enable the military act on time. Elsewhere, the senator representing Nasarawa South Senatorial District, Mr. Tanko Amakura, says his victory at the tribunal is an affirmation that his election was free, fair, and credible. He was speaking to journalists in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, in reaction to Friday's judgment at the tribunal, which upheld his victory. According to him, the victory will spur him to deliver dividends of democracy to his constituents. Now let's move on to another story. There's legal class action against the Nigerian Senate instituted by some non-governmental organizations, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, BudgIT, Enough is Enough, EIE, and 6,721 other concerned Nigerians. Now, they have filed a lawsuit asking the Federal High Court to restrain, prevent, and stop the National Assembly Service Commission from paying or releasing the sum of 5.5 billion naira budgeted for the purchase of luxury cars for principal members of the 9th Senate, and also to restrain and stop the Senate from collecting the money until the downward review of the amount proposed by the Senate. Now, in the suit, the group says was filed last Friday at the Federal High Court, Ikoyi. The plaintiffs argued that spending a huge sum to buy luxury cars for principal members of the 9th Senate is unjust and unfair. They also argued, quote, that the proposed spending by the 9th Senate raises pertinent questions. What is the economic value and contribution of the vehicles sought to be purchased to the grand scheme of Nigeria's economy? What are the parameters used to arrive at cost efficiency and value for money in the decision to purchase the vehicles? Where are the vehicles purchased by the 8th Senate? End of quote. Well, joining us in the studio is Shakira Akorede, the Communications Associate of BudgIT. He joins us live. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, Akorede, so why is BudgIT joining the suit?
Number one, we are very concerned by the inappropriateness of this plan by the Senate to purchase cars. And as obvious as it is, this is living the luxury life by the so-called representatives of the people. So the first thing to ask ourselves as a people, I mean Nigerians, is what are our core priorities? What are the dimensions, our economic dimensions, our economic realities? How in any way does this plan show the seriousness, the commitment on the part of the government to solve our socioeconomic crisis? So if we come to the figures, how many Nigerians are there? We have, in a country where you have 98 million people living in multidimensional poverty. So we are just a helpless people. This has to reflect in the conduct and activities, actions of our leaders. So some 4 years ago, the 8th Senate got the same, for this almost the same set of people, because if you go back to check how many of the senators returned to the 9th Senate, you'll be surprised. So if you spent less than 4 years ago, you spent some 4 billion on SUV cars, and then now you are proceeding to buy a set of new vehicles at 5.5 billion. We should ask ourselves, where is the human feeling? And beyond that, because some could say, well, that's what they are there to do, you know, they have a lot of things to put in place for the running cost. Let's go down to the analysis. Some are arguing that the last vehicles purchased by the 8th Assembly weren't for individuals. So if they weren't for individuals, where are they? Even as I speak now, I've read online people saying that the planned vehicles to be purchased now are not as well for individual senators. They are for the effectiveness of their offices. If it is for the effectiveness of the offices, let's add 1 and 2 together and do the calculation. So if the previous ones, the 8th Senate, bought for the same purpose, and we can't trace, we can't even ask ourselves, Even the sitting Senate president himself is a returned member of the Senate. Where is the car he used some 3 years ago? So where is the effectiveness?
Come in there, and this is also to remind our viewers that we've extended invitations to the Senate, some of whom have declined commenting on the matter, but we hope that they would very soon. But, you know, I've also heard from a few of them who have mentioned that perhaps this is something sponsored, a sort of witch hunt. And I've looked at some of the concerned Nigerians joined as co-plaintiffs in the suit. Other than Serap, BudgIT, EIE, we have Bring Back Our Girls co-convener, we have the former presidential aspirant, Obieze Kwesili. So doesn't this call to question the motive?
It doesn't in any way. Say politicians would always be politicians. It's always the tactics of looking for hideouts, excuses to justify their actions. It is very simple. Let the leadership of the Senate come out to tell Nigerians that, oh, guys, there is nothing like this in place. We have no plan to buy vehicles. It's very simple. And it wasn't fabricated by these organizations, nor individuals. This is a reported news. So if someone had written that, okay, the Senate is embarking on XYZ plan, and you find it, fabricated, unfounded, it's very simple. The Senate has a spokesman. Let the person come out to tell Nigerians that, oh, we are not doing this. Not to talk of the noise so far. A responsive leadership would have said something. And let me say this very clearly. Even the management of the National Assembly has said something that, okay, for now, what is only going on is that they have not actualized the plan. There has been no denial of this. And newsmen try to reach the spokesman of the Senate. He's not said anything. So when the people, it's now what they're saying is that, okay, people are lying against the institution. So tell the world what the reality is, what the truth is. But we stand on the fact that we have this information and it's open to the entire world. So if it's not, tell us. But standing on that, we would remain. And thank God, this time around, we have more than 6,000 Nigerians who have joined the lawsuit. So we want to know, it's very simple, why are you doing this? The ones you purchased 3 years ago, where are they?
Some of them say they're not serviceable. And how would you expect a new senator to use an old vehicle, a vehicle he's not sure about, you know, the workings?
Before we get to that point, serviceable or not, where are they? That's the first question. And it tells you, when we talk about openness, asking the National Assembly to make its finances very open. This is the consequences. The Senate is, in full understanding that when you have access to the budget before the passage, Nigerians would ask questions. Imagine if this is happening at a time when the budget has not become a law. You can imagine the rage and the outcry from Nigerians. So this is one of the reasons the National Assembly would continue to keep its budget under the carpet so that Nigerians do not get access to the documents. And as such, they won't be able to make any criticism. So if the National Assembly does what we've been asking for, make the National Assembly's budget open. The same way the ministers come to the National Assembly to defend their budget, you should be answerable to the people, those who you claim that you represent. So if you had seen this late last year, or early this year, Nigerians would have been able to ask questions. You would also have offered yourself the opportunity to make clarifications.
All right. Akorede, we'd like to thank you for talking to us today. Hopefully, we'll get some answers from the Senate when they return from recess. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
That's how we wrap things up on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. I'll see you soon.